Dear Diary, this was a tiring day. I had to work extra, until about 10 in fact, and that prick Mr. Richards does not even mention paying extras for all the time spent at work. But I couldn't care less. Something wonderful happened. I got out of the work, fumbling with my purse to fish up my car keys when I heard him. "Leaving without a simple greeting?" he said, with that wonderfully attractive, teasing tone. Mike came to my office at 10 p.m. Even in the darkness, I could see how handsome his features were. Just seeing him made my heart tumble in my chest. I'll spare the details for now. I'm too tired to convey how awesome it was to see and talk to him with just simple writing. Instead, I'll scribble down the less exciting parts of the remainder of my day. After I spoke to Mike, helplessly grinning about what just happened, I headed to the store. Despite the late hour, energy came back to me in a crashing wave, and I thought instead of postponing the grocery shopping for the next day, I'd buy my stuff. By the time I was at the cash register, I was still stupidly happy that I even chatted perhaps a little too friendly with the packing guy. He even asked me what my name was. I guess just encouraged by my bubbly state. I couldn't help it though. I keep thinking about how he smiled at me, stroked my cheek as he looked into my eyes. I of course mean Mike, not the packing guy. Gosh, I'm simply too tired. I should head to bed before I write anything more silly than this. Night night. Dear Diary, I can't believe it. One day. It's been one damn day and everything goes downhill. Everything sweet that happened yesterday just had to vanish in less than 24 hours. Damn be him. Each time I get my hopes up about him, he does something that screws everything up. Today, I saw him during the lunch break. I was out with a few colleagues and we decided to go to Ben's. For whatever reason, I insisted on going there. And just as I thought I foresaw something bad coming, I saw him having an intimate lunch with Jessica and laughing at something she was telling him a little bit too hard. Can you imagine how frustrated I am? I don't think I even want to write about Mike. I get more and more frustrated when I think about it. One day he's overtly flirtatious, and the second, even the packing guy at the grocery store seemed more sincere. What the hell am I even talking about? I'm taking my frustrations out on a notebook. I'm going to sleep. Night. Dear Diary, I'm kind of freaking out. I've been having bad enough days already, and today I was told by the security lady that some guy had been asking to see me quite frantically and repeatedly asking for my room number. Like the crap at work and the stuff with Mike weren't enough. I've got a stalker now? As the lady told me the story, I felt a chill run down my spine and instinctively looked over my shoulder. Most likely my imagination, but I thought, for a split second, someone was staring at me from the middle of the darkness. I guess the thought itself just scared me, but I don't think I'll sleep well tonight. I might as well focus on the remaining work I brought home with me. It feels off, though. Why would someone want to see me so frantically? I hope this is just work-related or a very insistent mailman or something. Speaking of mails, I always keep forgetting to check the mailbox. It must be stuffed with bills and pamphlets by now. I should empty it sometime. Who knows? Maybe I'll find an answer to the frantic caller. Anyway, best grab a cup of coffee and get down to work. Later. Dear Diary, okay, last night was a disaster. I'm losing my mind. Something or someone is clearly stalking me. I don't even know what's going on, but I did not sleep a wink last night. I know it'll sound insane, but when I got into my room last night, I swear to God I heard someone breathing heavily. Almost like heavy panting someone would experience upon running for a mile. First, I thought I was imagining it. I even thought maybe I was hearing my own breathing, but even when I held my breath, it was still there. Now, it's kind of impossible for me to hear breathing through the thick walls of the apartment complex I'm currently living in, so I immediately looked toward the vent. I mean, whatever that was, it had to be coming from there unless it was in my own room. That thought rooted me to the ground and froze the blood in my veins. I swallowed down the thickness in my throat and waited for a few quite painful moments, and the noise was gone. I can't even describe how I was freaking out for the first few moments, but then I slowly started to rationalize the situation. I've been having long days at work, my mind often crowded with troublesome thoughts. And this little stalker theory I was having from what the security lady told me was just adding up to my already stressed state. I probably imagined it. Perhaps it was some sort of heat shift in the ventilation shaft that caused the noise, and I thought it sounded like heavy breathing. Right? I don't know. What I do know, though, is no matter how hard I tried to get some proper shut-eye, my mind kept torturing me and I found myself staring towards the vent. The lack of light in that direction does not seem to be helping me. Maybe I'll have a thorough look in there sometime during the day or the weekend or something, just to be sure. All I can think now is a proper night's sleep. I guess I'll just collapse soon. Oh, and on a final note, screw Mike. I'd better be off without him for a while. Dear Diary, this is not normal. Something's really off, and I don't want to stay in my apartment anymore. I'm at the verge of losing it because it is evident that someone's after me. Someone who has access to my goddamn apartment. Heck. Okay, I'll write down the story. When I came back from work today, I was greeted by Mrs. Nelson, who lives across my room. Incidentally, she was headed out to take out the trash and stopped me almost fervently when she saw me. Dear, she spoke with a concerned voice, I've been hearing noises from your apartment during daytime. I'm sure I didn't hear them before until the past few days. It is as though someone's roaming your place. I hear footsteps and occasional metal grinding noises from the juncture of our ventilation shafts. Look, be careful, my dear girl, and bolt the doors at night. As this wasn't concerning enough in itself, she gave a very worried squeeze in my arm and looked at me as though I was going to meet my demise soon enough. God damn it. My hands are shaking. I'll give up on writing for a while. What the heck? I went into the bathroom to wash my face and all my cosmetics were gone. I'm positively freaking out now. There are no signs of someone breaking into my apartment, yet my makeup, of all things, are gone. I'm trying to remember whether I've recently placed them somewhere else, but I'm pretty sure they were here in the morning before I went out for work. Oh, God. Something nasty is going on, and I'm starting to grow frantic. I called Linda in order to ask her if I could crash in for the night, but she didn't pick up. I even swallowed my pride and called Mike, but we couldn't even speak. The prick's out somewhere with quite the loud music. I don't know what to do. I guess I'll firstly check the whole apartment and the vent, then try to get some sleep. Oh God, help me. I'm terrified. Maybe it was a nightmare. After all I've been through, maybe my subconscious is playing a nasty game with me, but I'm absolutely terrified. It's 3:35 a.m., and I'm sitting here by the kitchen table trying to find the courage to go back to my bedroom, sobbing silently. I'm biting my lip way too harshly in order to be silent, that I might have it bruised by tomorrow. I guess it was a dream, but right before I woke up from an uneasy slumber, I felt as though someone was watching me. You know that feeling you get when someone's staring at you? Even if you aren't looking in their direction, you sense it and peer towards them? It was something like that. Then I felt it. I felt a cool hand touching my cheek. Wet, cold, clammy, and somewhat trembling fingers brushed my cheekbone before I jolted awake. I felt the trail of them on my skin, disgusted by both that and the stench in my room of sweat and something else. I don't even want to describe what I thought it was. Swallowing down the bile in the back of my throat, I slowly stood up and cautiously left my room after picking the notebook up. Now I'm in the kitchen. I'm definitely not going back into my bedroom tonight, and I will sleep on the couch instead. I wish the trembling would fade away. Dear Diary, I need to get out of this apartment this very instant. Move out, go somewhere far away, quit the job if I have to, and never, never come back. I'll move into another state if need be. Heck, another continent if I have to. This has gone too far and I'm not staying for a minute more in this place. I'm currently staying at Linda's now, and the first thing I plan to do in the morning is to go into my apartment, pack my things, and get the hell out of there and never come back. I'll tell you what happened today. I woke up from a horribly disturbed sleep, half dead due to the combination of the past sleepless nights. I just put on some clothes and went straight out, skipping breakfast and obviously makeup since I don't even have any to put on. Anyway, dull day at work, and even if something interesting was happening, I was too tired to notice. I even had to endure an angsty lecture from Mr. Richards due to my dropping performance, but I couldn't have cared less. I nodded it off and got out of the work, driving with my eyes half closed to my apartment. When I arrived at my place, Mr. Atkins, my upper floor neighbor, halted me, and much to my shock and dismay, he held my arm and dragged me to the side by the entrance. As I was trying to figure out what's going on, he started whispering to me frantically, evidently scared and agitated. Miss Merritt, I had been debating whether or not I should tell this to you, but I can keep it to myself no more despite how scared I was and still am, he said, his eyes wide and his hands shaking. A few days ago, a young man came by and kept asking whether I knew where you live. He rubbed his face before he continued. Well, the first time I saw him, I shrugged him off, but later that night, as I was getting back into the building, he grabbed at me, and he asked for your room number. I, of course, didn't tell him at first and tried to tell him off, but he drew out a knife and held it to my chest. I'm really sorry, Miss Merritt. I was scared and... You couldn't tell me about this before? I snapped, barely able to control my voice despite his pleas for me to calm down. There's someone stalking me, possibly in my apartment now, and you didn't tell me this before? You didn't call the police? I owe you one, Mr. Atkins, I continued as I broke out in a cold sweat. Disregarding his apologies and pleas, I tore myself away from him and peeled away from the corner he kept me and started going up the stairs quickly. My thoughts were whirling in my head when I opened the door to my apartment and got in. I was more agitated than anything else when I got into my room, and suddenly, I was halted upon seeing a letter on my desk. My stomach dropped, and the air escaped my lungs in a wheezing sound as I stood there, all muscles and bones petrified into one large chunk of stone. After a few seconds, I mustered the courage to walk up to my desk, and I picked up the letter. Dear Abby, I saw you wake up this morning. I didn't sleep a wink last night. You were too enthralling. I spent the whole night watching you. I couldn't help it. Anytime I tried to look away, my eyes seemed to be drawn back a few seconds later. My vision blurred due to tears welling up in my eyes, and quickly after, I lost track of time, my surroundings, and anything else that was happening around me. In that note, it said that this person had been lurking in my goddamn apartment. He was responsible with all the shit that was going on in my apartment, and even at that very moment, he could have been there. I stood in my spot, paralyzed for a good few minutes before I started looking through my bedroom. I grabbed a flashlight and checked my ventilation shaft, then under my bed, but there was nothing there. Raking my fingers through my hair, I looked around in desperation before I looked at the note again. At the bottom of it, there was a single sentence which made my skin crawl. "Oh, I forgot to mention, I'm making something special for you. Check in your closet after you read this." I stood for a long while at my very spot before I finally mustered up the courage to walk towards the closet with wary steps. For all I knew, he could even be hiding there for me, and the very thought made me sick. I thought I was going to collapse on the way. I dragged my feet for what seemed like 50 minutes, meanwhile picking up my porcelain piggy bank from a nightstand, the only heavy enough object I could find in case I had to hit someone with it, when I finally reached the closet. With a shaky hand, I reached out and grabbed the handle to open the door slowly at first, but they yanked it wide open. There was no person in there. Releasing the breath that I've been holding for God knows how long, I let the relief sink in for only a brief moment, and I saw it. On the bottom of the closet laid what seemed to be an eerily compiled scrapbook. Something that was looking no less spooky than some horror movie material with a weird handwriting that made me think that the writing was carved into the front cover with a sharp-tipped object. It read, "Abby and Jay, forever." By now, I was feeling horribly sick and frightened. I flipped through the pages, and each page made me lose my marbles a bit further. In it, there were pictures of me taken while I was sleeping, changing clothes. In addition to that, there were his pictures. A couple pictures of which the faces are replaced with our portraits. Then, at the very end, the one picture I had with Mike, but his face was scratched off. What's more eerie is I kept finding what I believe is my hair strands among the pages. I started crying. I lost track of time and sat in my bed, sobbing for minutes before I stood up and threw myself out of my apartment. I didn't even take my coat, just my purse and keys. I called the police and waited for them to arrive outside the building, practically freezing in my t-shirt and jeans. When they came by, I told them everything, and they went straight up to my apartment. After a fair amount of investigation, they told me they found no trace of anyone in the apartment, but that they'd keep investigating the matter, taking the scrapbook for fingerprints. My stomach roiling in dread, I just called up Linda and went straight to her place. She was accommodating when I told her about what's going on and told me I could stay at her place for as long as I wanted. But I'm going away tomorrow morning. I even booked my plane tickets to Atlanta, where I'll stay with my cousin for a while. I called out of work as well, and I'll probably be fired, but I don't care. I just need to get away from this nightmare. Now that I think about it, the name Jay and the pictures are awfully familiar. I definitely saw him before. Does that even matter, though? I'm getting rid of him forever tomorrow, whoever it was. Dear Diary, I am rid of him for good. You should have seen it. The fucker met his maker. I'm smudging the page in blood, but it doesn't matter. It's only the herald to my victory. It's his blood that I have on this page. I'll quickly describe what happened. I went home this morning to pack my things up. Then I rushed out of my apartment and got in my car, but soon I was startled with the thunderous crash of my car window bursting into a million pieces. Last thing I remember was that they were raining down on me like crystals in slow motion. Then I was rendered unconscious from what I believe a hit on my head. The painful bump on the back of my head just confirms this. But then I woke up slowly. I'm in this bunker of sorts. Looks like a storage room. Then I saw him. I saw his psycho of a face, his eyes glinting in pure madness as he stared at me, and then he began to smile, this horrible, sick, and victorious smile. I was so scared for a moment, I almost instantly began to cry. But then I saw my resolve. A knife was there beside me on the floor. Without thinking, I jumped on my feet, made a run for it, and got a hold of it, and the next thing I know, I gutted the sick bastard. He looked at me with wide eyes, and I, almost enjoying my bloody victory over him, stabbed him again and again and again. He finally fell on the floor, even then, laughing like a psychopath before he choked in his blood. Now here I am, sitting, waiting, trying to gather my thoughts and writing down the details of my victory. I am finally rid of him forever. I could get in my bed and sleep for days if I wished without having to think of that damn fucker. I'm even starting to enjoy the stains of blood on my fingers. They remind me of my power, my freedom. After I write these, I'll get up and with my newfound freedom, head back home. I'll take a shower and perhaps make myself a nice sandwich and then head straight to bed. I'll make the best of my beautiful off day. The door to the room is locked. I yelled, punched, and kicked the doors, but to no avail. No one is hearing me. Please, somebody has to be there. Hear me out. For now, obviously for only now, I seem to be trapped in here with a corpse, and the door's solid iron, so I can't make it budge, but someone will hear me soon, right?